Your media release is titled Warning Alarm, Farmers Want Needs Heard and Acted Upon. Is that a bit dramatic?
No, not at all. I mean, everyone needs to remember that the farming community contribute to the farm gate, not post-farm gate, $2.3 billion a year. And that wealth is generated in Tasmania. It creates wealth, it creates employment, it creates opportunity. There's a whole range of things that it does. And it doesn't take into account all the social and environmental benefits that those farms and farm businesses produce, which would take it well past 2.3. So we want to be heard, we want to be acted upon, and what we've done is we've produced an election package which looks at the future. This isn't a handout, we're not being mendicants, we're not being a grab. We want money to secure the future of agriculture in the next 10 to 15 years.
So what specific policy questions have you put to political hopefuls?
Look, we've sent to all the politicians, the parties and the independents, and there are 6 priority areas. There's northwest transmission development and all the issues that go around there with appropriate proper compensation. We're also looking at increasing on-farm sustainability, and one of those things is getting an idea of the ecosystem services that farmers provide to the community and trying to get a price on that. We're looking at irrigation. Irrigation is clearly an enabler. So we're looking, for instance, making sure that the Southeast and the Tamar schemes are properly funded. Education training, we need to have that. We need to be able to provide appropriate education and training that's fit for purpose, and accommodation for those that are doing it, so that we've got a viable agricultural future and those who want to work in it. We've got to make sure that biosecurity and securing our primary industries is a focus, and there's a range of other smaller projects which will go into the package, and over the coming weeks we will be releasing more specific packages that are inside the package.
In your media release, you've emphasised the importance of clear and long-term strategies from the major parties regarding the critical issues. What do you think the importance of that is, to have that long-term view?
Well, it's really easy to put your hand out and ask for something for today or tomorrow. That's really easy to do. What's harder and is more proactive and more adult-like is to be able to look at the industry for a 10 to 15 year horizon. And so that's what our package has done. We've always done that. It's strategic, it's long-term, trying to secure agriculture and rural communities into the future.
What our readers really want to know, and you talk about in your release, is the red tape and bureaucratic demands being placed on farmers. But can you expand on those?
Look, farmers, when they're buying, when they're selling, when they're doing treatments for their animals, everything's got to be recorded. So when we sell, there's about 3 pages of information you've got to fill out. When you apply a chemical, you've got to fill it out. There's QA systems. I mean, each individual company has their own QA systems. And then you've got all the government red tape that goes on top of that. What we want to see is we want to see some sort of harmonised process. I mean, it costs the farmers money to bear all of that red tape. We're the ones that get it. I mean, we can't bill the government and other industries so much an hour to fill it out. So the best way to do is to reduce the red tape, harmonise it, get everyone to talk, so that we only have to fill out a few forms, not hundreds a year.
Back to the strategic question, what approaches are you advocating for which are not really just mere financial support?
Well, much of our ask in there is doing processes like continuing with some of the planning that's already been announced, and that may well be stock washes, for instance. There may well be continuing the Weed Action Fund, which has already been planned. It's already operating at the moment. We don't know when that finishes. So what we're saying is that if it's there, if it's working, liaise with the TasFarmers, liaise with industry, and continue on with that. So there are many things there that can be done with very little cost. It just takes a bit of determination and strategic thinking and communicating with TasFarmers and the community to put them in place.
You also talk about the shipping issues in Tasmania specifically in the release. Can you expand on those and what the impact is on farmers?
It's huge because it adds an extra burden, it adds an extra cost. I mean, Australia, Tasmania exports a lot of its produce, and also Australia is a major exporter of its produce as well. But Tasmania being on an island, it's costly. Now we've got the freight equalisation scheme, that's an Australian government issue, but the cost of the costs rebates on that haven't been looked at for years and years and years. We've also got the issue on King Island in particular, where at the moment they're having a very dry period and they need to get livestock off the island and feed onto the island. That's not happening very well at the moment. There's just not enough capacity, there's not enough frequency, and so that's an impact onto the farmers. We actually need to be able to see something where there's a triangulated route perhaps that goes from King Island to Tasmania and then across to the mainland. That would open up extra markets. But again, that needs to be something that's done with the local communities and TasFarmers, not just done inside the bureaucracy.
What are some of the challenges that you've highlighted that really require forward-thinking solutions?
Well, I think everything in the agricultural sector really needs to have a long-term plan with it. And housing on farms, for instance, at the moment we can't attract labour to many houses. It means we can't attract workers to farms because we don't have the housing. It's difficult. We need the planning laws changed so that we can build houses on farms to attract the farmers. This isn't an overnight thing. This is something that needs to be planned but implemented over a longer period of time. We want to make sure that our biosecurity is done well. We want to make sure that our game management is done. We also need to have solutions around game management. The use of exclusion fences between the farmers and the public sector. At the moment, the public sector won't come into that. So the farmers are feeding the government's animals free of charge, losing production. But this doesn't happen overnight. We have to think of good solutions that are going to stand the test of time.
Thanks, Ian. One last question. It's a great package that you put together, but how do you plan to keep the politicians and the political parties transparent and accountable?
Well, look, we're resolute. TasFarmers, as you know, have had a board meeting today, and we're resolute. There are many other peak organisations where the government listen to intently and they listen to what they've been asked for and they deliver. TasFarmers didn't get anything out of the submission that they made at the budget time. We've put together another submission for the budget. We think it's long term and we will be pressuring the government to do that. But every politician that this goes to, we are going to make public their response on it, and we're going to hold them to what they promise or don't promise.
Thanks, Ian.